Hey friends, welcome to One Little Coder. Today we are going to talk about PyScript. PyScript has taken the web development world into storm since the announcement was made in the recent PyCon. So today we are going to learn what is PyScript. Is it really a JavaScript killer? So is PyScript going to replace JavaScript in this entire web development ecosystem? How data scientists, machine learning engineers, or people who love data apps can take advantage of PyScript. And of course, we are going to see how you can simply deploy PyScript on Google pages, GitHub pages, of course, on any static page hosting website. So we're going to see all these things in this video. So if you have got any questions that is not covered in this video, please let me know in the comment section so I can try to address it later on. But PyScript is really amazing. I'm really so happy. Like, as you know, I'm somebody who has made a lot of videos about Streamlit and Python web development ecosystem. So to see something like PyScript, I was like mind blown. So this is totally amazing, totally unexpected. I really love PyScript. So I want to share my learning with you. What do I know about PyScript and how do I see PyScript and those questions that we discussed at the start of the video. This is something that interests you. Let's get started. First of all, what is PyScript? PyScript is a new version. I mean, not necessarily like a new programming language, but a new way for you to write Python code inside your HTML. So now, how is it possible? You might be wondering, is there any dependency? Do I have to install something? No, nothing. So this ideally uses something called WASM. It's web assembly. So Pyodide is a project that has ported Python for WebAssembly. So WebAssembly lets you run anything on web browser, just like how your JavaScript code is. So Pyodide has taken Python and then ported it to WebAssembly, which means if you build anything on top of Pyodide, you would be able to run that on a web browser. Now you might be wondering, like, why do I care about running something on web browser? Like I have my terminal, I have got my shell, I can simply run Python on it. So what is the point of doing this on web browser? The simplest answer is web browser is a compiler that is available on almost every single device on this planet. You want to run something on Raspberry Pi, you would have a web browser. You want something on Apple Watch, you would have a web browser. So you almost see web browser everywhere. So which means you don't need an external dependency or a compiler or an installer for you to run a code if you can develop something for web browser. And that is exactly why all these companies are making web application. JavaScript developers exist. So this is something that Python developers are missing, and that is the gap that PyScript is trying to fill. PyScript is taking advantage of Pyodide and it is trying to bring that that feature, which is you can run Python within your browser using Pyodide, and PyScript is like the syntax or the language or installation or like whatever you would like to call it, domain-based language like a DSL, that is going to help you do this thing. So as you can see on the screen right now, so in short, our mission is to bring programming to for the 99%. So what they are talking about is 99% is the crowd or your total addressable market that uses browser, and PyScript will let you create products, create tools, create scripts, create automation for that 99%, and that is why PyScript is really exciting. So now, what is Python in the browser? So you can see that it uses made possible by Pyodide project. Thank you so much. That application hosting without reliance on server side configuration, which means any static web page hosting site can host your web application that has Python inside it, and we're going to do it as part of a demo in this video. So now, what are the other advantages you've got? It is based on Python ecosystem. So you can run many popular packages already, like out of box. PyScript will help you run packages like NumPy, Pandas, Scikit-learn. The scientific stack makes Python ecosystem really rich, and you would be able to use the scientific stack using PyScript again within your browser. So Python also can communicate with JavaScript. So now the question is PyScript really a JavaScript killer? So if you ask, in my opinion, I would say that PyScript still has a long way to go. When we create the PyScript web application, you will see that how long it takes. JavaScript applications do not take that much time. So if you want to build an enterprise application, if you want to build a SaaS product, a cloud-based product, you want to build an ML product, you want anything to be fast, People like fast things, people don't like slow things. If you're going to take 2 minutes to make a simple plot, people don't wait that much. You have a lot of different options like d3, all those things. So the point is, at this point, like as we are talking today, PyScript is not going to replace JavaScript. But what it can do is, if you know JavaScript, if you know PyScript, you have a lethal combination. Like you have really a powerful, maybe like something like Avengers. You have real superpower that can take the best of the web world, that can take Python, which is almost the best in the machine learning ecosystem. Python coated with PyScript with JavaScript, you are in for a treat. And Python with JavaScript, it means bi-directional communication between Python and JavaScript options, sorry, objects and namespaces. That makes it easy for you to develop really good web application using Python, PyScript, of course. Environment management, you get use packages, different packages, and again you have already some visual application components like UI components, like buttons, containers, boxes, and all these things. You can straight away use it just like how you do it on your HTML, CSS. And it's a flexible framework, which means more people could be building things on top of it, and more people would be developing it. It's just like probably 1 week since the development, and already you would see a lot of project. Like yesterday I came across a very interesting project where somebody has managed to use or put Python code inside their WordPress website. Can you even believe it? There is WordPress, which is a very popular CMS content management system that is highly used for blogs, websites, e-commerce, and all these things. WordPress is PHP based, but somebody had managed to take Python and put it inside WordPress, and this is amazing, and that is possible only because of PyScript, and that is exactly why we are talking about PyScript in this video. So at the end of the day, PyScript is just HTML, right? It's just HTML, and thanks to the rich ecosystem of Python, that makes this HTML really sophisticated and something that everybody would envy, especially if you are a web developer and if you do not know PyScript. I think you would want to now learn PyScript because you can do more than what you can do with simple HTML, CSS, JavaScript. And again, if you're a Python programmer, you would be missing out a huge ecosystem where you don't have to send a compiler, you don't have to send an execution file. All you need is a web browser to run something. So you would want to use PyScript. So in both the worlds, either whether you know Python, whether you do not know Python, I think PyScript is going to be really interesting. Everybody seems to be really excited about PyScript. So I would encourage, like if you are like me, I would encourage you to spend more time in the upcoming days to learn and use PyScript. I'm going to do the same thing. You might start seeing more tutorials in this channel on PyScript. But yeah, that's me. And I would recommend the same thing to you. So that's basically about PyScript. So I think I've spoken enough. Now I think it's time for us to do some action. Oh, there is an installation. Let's do some installation. And once I click this, it's going to troll me. Why? Because it says, hey, just kidding. You don't need to install anything, because all you have to do is you have to refer these two files in your HTML code, and then you have got PyScript ready for you to use. You don't have to literally install anything unless you are going to deploy it on a server. You don't want to rely on a third party, like the PyScript CSS and JavaScript. You can manually download it and keep it on your like host it on your own server. But I mean, like if you have used Google Font, if you have used any JavaScript library, you would of course do this thing. So I wouldn't mind doing this thing. So now that we know how to use PyScript, all you have to do is refer these two in your head tag on HTML. So now we are going to actually look at some sample projects. So now where do I go for sample projects? You can come here, you can see here, and then you would see sample projects. Let me look at sample projects here. And you click this, click here, that will take you to the sample project. Let me open it in a new tab, and you can see the sample project. Get started with PyScript. So now all I'm going to do is I'm going to create a GitHub repository, and I'm going to show you how you can host this PyScript, this HTML file that can run Python code on that GitHub repository. And I'm also going to show you how you can enable GitHub pages, which means this is hosted just like that. You don't need server, everything is happening client. Okay, so first let me go and create a new GitHub repository. Okay, so the first code that we're going to look at is let me zoom in. So the first code that we're going to look at is we have HTML open and close. We have head, close. Where is head? Close. Yeah, head, close here. So here we are referring these two files, and the one that we saw, the dependency for PyScript, one is the CSS, one is the JavaScript. Then inside the body, you have PyScript open, PyScript close, and you are just simply using print hello world. That's it. That's the first code that we're going to run. So let's see. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to open my new tab. I'm going to say github dot my GitHub profile AMRRS, and I'm going to click a new repository, and I'm going to say PyScript demos, and I'm going to say code repo to host PyScript based page. We're going to actually create an HTML file, and then we're going to enable GitHub pages. That's why I want to. I don't want it. Maybe I can keep it. I don't want a README. That's fine. Create repository. After that, you would not see anything, of course. You see an empty file. So create a new file. Okay, I'm going to copy everything from here. Copy this. Come back here. Paste it, and I'm going to call it index.html. I'll tell you the reason why I'm calling it index.html. If you have already dealt with GitHub pages, you would know this, but just if you do not know, very shortly, I'm going to say why I'm calling it index.html. Then next thing is I'm going to commit the file. At this point, we have the file. Okay, so we have index.html. So if I have opened, nothing is happening because you're actually looking at the code. You're not looking at the page. So what I'm going to also do now is I'm going to duplicate this tab. Okay, I'm going to duplicate this tab, and instead of github.com, I'm going to say github.dev, and then I'm going to open this repository at this point. So you can see that a new repo. Is it a repo opening? Let's see. Yeah, the repo is being opened. So the repo title is PyScript demos. PyScript demos. Let me show you. Yeah, PyScript demos, and it's going to show you the index.html file. So it's currently connecting, and then you can see, yeah, you can see index.html, and you can see the code here. So this is, I'm doing something so that we can make changes and we can see. So at this point, our repo is ready, right? Our coding environment is ready, which is again on the cloud using VS Code Dev. Now what we want to do is we want to host this page. We want to render and serve this page. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the settings of this page. Sorry, settings of this repo. Click pages here. And say that I want to take the main branch. I want to take the root folder, and I want to save, which means I'm going to enable GitHub pages at this point. And you know, once you do that, it is saying that your site is ready to be published at this place. Right now, don't click this, right click it, copy the link, go back to your repo, edit, about, and then add the website here. Okay, and save it. At this point, you have successfully copied and pasted the page here. And as you can see, there is a GitHub action, a very small GitHub action that is currently running. You click action, you can see that it is building and deploying your page. Whatever the page that we have got, it is being built and deployed at this point. The moment it becomes green, you're going to click the repo link, and let's see what's happening. It's still running. Once it ideally by this time it should have finished, because I think it's running for close to 1 minute. Yeah, it's finished. So now what happens is I go back to the repository and I click this link. Okay, and it's taking me to this page, and it's loading. It's I don't look this white because of the white screen. I look white. You can see it is loading, and it's going to print hello world. And as you can see, it is taking a bit of time, and that is exactly what I highlighted. PyScript is not as fast as JavaScript at this point, but I would still recommend PyScript at this point. Let's say you want to develop an internal project, intranet, local hosted. This should be really fine. And as you can see, you've got hello world as we do. So now I'm going to quickly show you one more thing. I'm going to right click this, inspect, and after I do inspect, let me show you. I'm going to click network, right? So that you get to see the kind of speed it takes. Network. So you can see right now there is nothing. I'm going to just refresh this, right? After I refresh this, you can see what all components are being loaded. PyScript, PyScript.js, then, you know, Pyodide. So Pyodide is what exactly I said makes this Python to WASP WebAssembly port. And you can see ASM assembly code, WASP code, and still you can see that it is not printed hello world. So it is still running. So it was loading all the dependencies. It is still working out, and it has still not reached our Python code part, as you can see. And then you can see at this point this successfully happened. So it has taken close to what, about 6,000 microseconds maybe. So now we know how we have managed to build a very simple PyScript application. As you can see the code, let me quickly, yeah, so let me tell you the reason why I am why did I call it index.html. The reason why I call it index.html is because if you see this URL part, I'm not referring to the actual URL like the file name link. I'm just referring to the repo name, and that renders this. And for that to happen, you have to call the file index.html. If you don't do that, then you have to always do, like whatever that page name is, the repo name is slash index dot whatever that file name is. Let's say I'm calling it home.html, so I have to call it home.html to avoid that unnecessary thing. It doesn't look good. Usually I don't prefer it. Even if I'm going to put it on my resume, send it to my friends, I don't giving the actual the file link. So this looks more professional, and that's why we called it index.html, which gets rendered when you call the repo itself, the repo link, this link, rather than the actual file link. That's why we call it index.html. So to quickly take a look at the code, so what do we see? We see, I think I should zoom it at this point. How is the zoom? Okay, let me, in the size. This is a bit of a stretch. I think I should reduce it a little bit. One more. One more. Okay. So right now we have an HTML tag open and close. We have head open and close. We have body open and close. Everything goes inside the body. We have said print hello world. So maybe we can try this. I'm not sure if it's going to work, but I'm going to try my luck. I'm going to try print hello world. And into 10. So I would ideally expect it to print 10 times. So when I save this, I have to commit it back. I'm going to say updated the code, type the commit message, and after I do that, I'm going to go back. I'm going to go back and see the GitHub action. So I'm going to click the action, and you can see the action is the page is like, because we made a change to the code, the page is being built and it's going to be deployed. Once we see this thing, whatever happens, whether it works, whether it doesn't work, the next thing that we're going to do is we are going to directly jump into the last section of this code, which helps us print a matplotlib chart. So we're going to write a scientific stack, so this Python scientific stack code, which includes importing matplotlib, importing numpy, generating two random numbers, making a beautiful scatter plot, and displaying it. Whether it is beautiful or not, it doesn't matter. But that's what we're going to do. So our code, if you see, it looks the same, except one changes. You have now environment where you're defining the libraries that you want. NumPy and Matplotlib are the two libraries that you want, which is again inside your head, like if you're familiar with JavaScript, sorry, HTML. Then inside the body, you have h1 tag, which is an HTML tag. You define a div, like a placeholder. You define a div and keep it, and the div ID is plot. So this is like a placeholder that you have defined, and now you're defining PyScript, and you're saying the output should be placed inside plot. So you have defined a div ID plot, and whatever the output of this, right? It's a plot. At the end of the day, you have a figure here. That figure should be written inside the div ID plot. That's what you're saying. Then you're closing all the tags, and you're good to go. So I'm going to copy this code. Okay. I'm going to go back to my demo. Ideally, it should have finished. Let me refresh this. Then see, it's going to run again. I'm not editing this video, so my apologies if this running part takes a little bit of time, but I want you to have the real time how much it takes, so that you can do that mental calculation to see, okay, where is PyScript today, where is JavaScript. I mean, because I've seen a lot of comparison between PyScript and JavaScript. I don't think it is fair at this point. You're talking about a newly launched framework, or for a DSL or whatever, something that is launched a week back, and then you're talking about a very matured programming language that's been existing for a while. So I don't think it's fair, and I don't think PyScript is JavaScript killer either. So I think they're going to work hand in hand. They're going to bring the best of both the worlds, and I am really happy to be it like that. I don't want to take away the jobs of JavaScript developers. Neither I want to give away my job, which is coding in Python. So we have successfully managed to print Py hello world 10 times. So yes, our Python skills are good, and we have successfully managed to use it on the web. So now that our first demo worked fine, so we have already copied the code. I'm going to come back here to my editor. I'm going to paste it. Just to quickly again take you through the code. So we have got the HTML tag opening, we have got the head tag opening, we have got the dependencies called, and we are saying the Python environment requirements, which in this case NumPy and matplotlib, two libraries we want. Now the head tag gets closed. Next we are opening the body tag, and then we have h1. We are saying let's plot some random numbers. If you want another h2, you can simply you can say strong something. I'm going to say thanks to one little coder, I love Python. Does it sound narcissistic? I'm not sure. I love PyScript. Okay, there's a typo for love, that's fine. So that you know that I'm not a bot. Bots don't make typo, do they? So we have strong, and then we have the div id plot. So this is like the placeholder where you want actual plot to be rendered, and then finally you have the PyScript output, and you're saying that the output should go inside the plot, and then you have got the actual Python code, which is import matplotlib as plt, import matplotlib.pyplot as plt, and import numpy as np, and then you are defining two random numbers, and that's why it might take a little bit of time. I'm going to change this 100. I'm going to change this 100. You have got x and y, and then you have got the subplots defined, and then you're going to make a nice scatter plot, and then you're going to display the chart. That's it. So now I'm going to save this. I'm going to go back here and say commit this. What is the commit message? Matplotlib code. Okay. Commit the message, and I'm going to go back to my GitHub action to see now that it is rebuilding the page. You can see. So I think it would take at least a minute, but you can see. So couple of nice examples that I've seen with PyScript so far. The one that I talked about, the WordPress thing, like actually putting Python code inside WordPress, and I also saw people started already developing slightly like dashboards, like sophisticated interactive visualization using panel. That is something that I started seeing, and I'm really excited to try it out. I actually wanted to wait to build a dashboard using PyScript, but I thought I've it's been so long since I got sick, and then I made a video, so I thought I should at least share my feeling about this thing. Okay, so now this deployment is successfully done, so I'm going to go back to my link, which is of course the link, and I'm going to reload it. I'm still keeping this here so that you see what are the components getting loaded and how long it is taking. So that's the only intention, not to scare you out. I'm refreshing this page, ideally because our GitHub action deployment has been successful, which means now we should have the latest feature. Like you can see, it says let's plot the random numbers thanks to one little coder. I love PyScript strong. I think I didn't close it properly. So what a terrible mistake I've made. But that's okay. Um, I'm not an HTML developer, so I have an excuse to say. So now it is getting loaded. So what ideally now it is going to happen is it's going to happen. It's going to it is going to generate random numbers, and it's going to make a nice little plot using matplotlib. And as you can see that it is downloading all these wheels. Okay. So one thing that you need to notice, you can also define the file as an external dependency to quickly show you. So right now we have done, like, if you're familiar with CSS, it's like inline CSS. We have done a very inline code, but if you don't want that, you can keep the random number generating all these things as a separate code, and then you can, define the code as a dependency as well, just like how you would simply use like a source code and then import that source code in Python. You can do almost same thing here as well, but I don't want to deal with the pain of referring to the relative path and all those things. That's the only reason I hard coded it. So you can either do like this, this is called local module if you want to do. So now going back to our code, it is still rendering. The plot is still not visible. So let's let us wait and see. I think it has downloaded almost necessary items already, so you can see all the required libraries here, and here you go, the plot is available. So we have successfully managed to create our PyScript using Python scientific ecosystem, scientific stack. But the main thing that you have to remember is this is not hosted on a server. This is just static HTML page hosted on GitHub pages, very similar to your simple HTML CSS. That is the biggest thing. So there is no server side interaction. Python is actually executed on the browser, like using PyAudit. I would recommend you to read more about PyAudit. It's quite interesting. But at this point, PyScript is more interesting than that because somebody has built it on top of it, and I would strongly recommend you to go try out PyScript. Just one last information, because before we sign off, they have got a Twitter handle. So if you're developing anything using PyScript at this point, please tag this Twitter handle. You have a higher chance of getting retweeted and getting more eyeballs. But other than that, I am really super bullish about PyScript at this point. But if you ask me the question, is PyScript the JavaScript killer? I don't think PyScript is a JavaScript killer, and I don't want PyScript to be the JavaScript killer. I expect it to coexist. Whenever I used to use R Shiny a lot, I used to use R Shiny a lot. I would say the same thing. You can develop dashboards, data applications, ML applications using R Shiny or Python Streamlit, even if you do not know HTML, CSS, JavaScript. But if you know Streamlit or R Shiny along with HTML, CSS, JavaScript, like then you are in a niche. You're like you are special, and I think the same thing is going to happen here as well. If you know Python, if you know PyScript, if you know JavaScript, then I think you have got a really super power, and that is how I would see the ecosystem to grow. But yeah, this is really an exciting spot. If you build anything using PyScript, let me know in the comment section. If you have any more questions about PyScript that I have not covered, let me know in the comment section. Otherwise, I hope you stay safe. I hope you take care. Happy coding.